And welcome to today's video. This is a B1 level ESL lesson. Today we're going to be talking about quantifiers and vocabulary related to architecture. So do you have a favorite building, and do you know its style of architecture? So here are some examples of some of the different styles, and we'll be talking about these in the next few slides. So an architectural style is characterized by the features that make a building or other structure notable or historically identifiable. A style may include such elements as form, method of construction, and building materials. Neoclassical architecture uses features of the buildings from ancient Greece and ancient Rome. The Milan Cathedral is the largest Gothic structure. A common feature of Gothic architecture is the pointed arch. The Royal National Theatre in London is a typical example of Brutalist architecture. The Palace of Versailles is an example of the Rococo period, when architects used curvy lines and detailed decoration. And the Chrysler Building is an Art Deco skyscraper located in Manhattan, New York. We have a couple of vocabulary words: bold, having a strong appearance; extravagant, using more money or resources than necessary. And this is the entrance to 30 Rockefeller Center in New York City. So you can pause the video and read about Art Deco on your own, or you can follow along as I read. Art Deco was a style of art and architecture in the 1920s and 1930s. Art Deco, with its bold outlines and geometric shapes, is one of the most distinctive styles of architecture. Entrances are often extravagant, and large glass windows are often a feature. Originating in France in the 1920s, Art Deco later became popular in both Europe and the United States. A number of public and commercial buildings constructed in the UK in the 1930s belong to this period. So you're going to read about some Art Deco buildings in the UK. You have the Battersea Power Station, the Daily Express Building, the Forum, and Queen's Hotel. So instantly recognizable from its 4 white chimneys and geometrical symmetry, this building is now undergoing extensive renovations. Originally, parts of the interior were decorated with white marble tiles and various wood features. And extensive means covering a large range of area. So read the sentences below about the Battersea Power Station, and each sentence contains a quantifier. The building has several chimneys. There are some tall windows. You can't see any doors in this image, and many people used to work in this building. So let's take a look at quantifiers. We use some in positive sentences and any in negative sentences and questions. Examples: there are some Gothic buildings in the center of Paris. There aren't any modern buildings in this village. Are there any neoclassical buildings in the city? When we talk about zero quantity, we can also use no in positive sentences. There are no windows in this building. There is no decoration on the walls. And we can also use none of plus the plural, or none. None of these buildings are older than 100 years. How many Gothic buildings are there in Sydney? None. All right, so now you're going to practice some quantifiers. You can pause the video and try these on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. So that building has some interesting features. This town doesn't have any old churches. There's no entrance on this side of the building. This town has some beautiful examples of Art Deco buildings. There are many historic buildings in this area, but none of them are in good condition. There are many rooms in the palace. Some rooms on the ground floor have been renovated recently, and there aren't any modern apartments on this side of town. There is no hotel in this part of town. All right, so now we're going to review other quantifiers that we use for large quantities. So in positive sentences, you can use a lot of or lots of. The examples, modern buildings often have a lot of glass. Skyscrapers have lots of floors. In negative sentences, we use not many, not much, or not a lot of. The old cottage doesn't have many rooms. There's not much space inside the old church, and the town hall doesn't have a lot of doors. With questions, we can use many, much, or a lot of. Are there many apartments in your neighborhood? Is there much decoration inside the cathedral? Is there a lot of space around the building? And positive in sentences showing satisfaction, you can use plenty of. There are plenty of beautiful old buildings downtown. All right, so you're going to read about the Daily Express building in Manchester. We have two vocabulary words. Flamboyant means attracting attention, and gilt is using gold paint. Memorable for its futuristic appearance, this box-like building is known for its rounded corners and black glass curtain walls with chrome strips. Its sister building in London has a famously flamboyant lobby with a silver and gilt decoration. So what are some of the features of the building? So it's box-like, rounded corners, black glass curtain walls, and chrome strips. Sister building just means it's a building built in a similar style, or maybe designed by the same architect, built by the same builder. And which buildings in your city look futuristic? And you can feel free to answer that question in the comments. Now we're going to look at small quantifiers. We use a few and a little to talk about a small amount. There is a little decoration around the doors and windows. Most cities have a few interesting historic buildings. We use few and little to mean not a lot. There are few hotels downtown. There's little green space in this town. And we use very few and very little to decrease the amount. There are very few people living near the coast. In this neighborhood, there's very little space for children to play. All right, now we're showing how these quantifiers relate to each other. So none would be 0. If you're on a scale of 1 to 5, little and few would be around 3. And then greater than 5 would be much, plenty of, many, lots of, and a lot of. And not many is much more natural in spoken English than few. So there are few cars on the road this morning. There aren't many cars on the road this morning. So both of these are correct, have the exact same meaning, but you'll more often hear the second one. Few people have traveled into space. Not many people have traveled into space. So again, both sentences have the same meaning. It's just that saying few sounds a little more formal, and in casual conversation, most people will say not many. All right, so now we're going to review some example sentences containing quantifiers. There are a few columns on the upper level. The building has some large windows. At the top of each column, there is a little decoration. Each window is made up of many small panes. There is little detail at the top of the large windows, and there's not much decoration on the upper level. All right, now we're going to read the text about the Forum in Bath. We have one vocabulary word, restore, means to repair a building and return it to its original condition. You can pause the video on your own and then answer the questions in the neighborhood, or sorry, in the comments. Originally built as a cinema, this beautifully curved building was constructed using a steel frame covered in stone. The facade of the Forum features magnificent pillars, and the entrance is classic Art Deco style. Inside, touches of wood and gold leaf have been restored to their former glory. So what kind of buildings do we usually restore? Really any kind of building can be restored. I think, Museums, public buildings, even homes can be restored. And are there any restored buildings in your neighborhood? And which building has the most beautiful facade in your town? And again, you can answer those questions in the comments to generate some discussion. All right, so we have the Queen's Hotel in Leeds. Vocabulary here is opulent, which means rich and luxurious. The hotel contains a lot of beautiful Art Deco details, both inside and outside. Built in white Portland stone with brick sides and rear, this hotel has an impressive entrance with sturdy pillars. The classic style continues inside from the opulent lobby to the stylish bedrooms. So here are some features of Gothic architecture, and Notre Dame of Paris is one of the most recognizable Gothic buildings. So we have a spire, a flying buttress here, a gargoyle, stained glass windows, and a ribbed vault. Okay, we're going to listen to Mark and listen to the order in which he mentions the features of Gothic architecture, and one of them is not mentioned.
Medieval cities throughout Europe have beautiful examples of Gothic architecture. Buildings constructed in this style required intricate, painstaking work. Gothic churches and cathedrals share key features which make them instantly recognizable. 1. Spires, tall, pointed structures at the top of buildings. 2. Flying buttresses, half arches of brick or stone that support the walls, giving architects the freedom to build walls which were thinner and higher. 3. Stained glass windows, windows made from pieces of colored glass. 4. Pointed arches, arches which are sharp rather than rounded at the top. 5. Gargoyles, strange and ugly faces or figures of people, animals, or mythical beasts, and also having a practical purpose.
Okay, so he didn't mention a ribbed vault. All right, so we're going to listen again and fill in the blanks, and there's one extra option.
Medieval cities throughout Europe have beautiful examples of Gothic architecture. Buildings constructed in this style required intricate, painstaking work. Gothic churches and cathedrals share key features which make them instantly recognizable. 1. Spires, tall, pointed structures at the top of buildings. 2. Flying buttresses, half arches of brick or stone that support the walls, giving architects the freedom to build walls which were thinner and higher. 3. Stained glass windows, windows made from pieces of colored glass. 4. Pointed arches, arches which are sharp rather than rounded at the top. 5. Gargoyles, strange and ugly faces or figures of people, animals, or mythical beasts, and also having a practical purpose.
Right, so now we're going to listen to Mark talk about this the city of 100 Spires, Prague, in the Czech Republic. And so we'll be listening for the place that Mark does not mention.
Prague in the Czech Republic is sometimes known as the City of 100 Spires. Buildings in Prague often feature a range of different construction styles. Some of the best-known examples of Gothic architecture include 1. Old Town Bridge Tower on Charles Bridge, which crosses the Vltava River. The pointed arch gives an indication that it was built in the Gothic style. More of these arches can be seen at the Stone Bell House. 2. The Church of Our Lady before Teen is famous for its towers and Gothic spires, which dominate the Prague skyline and can be seen from all over the city. 3. The Old New Synagogue dates from the late 13th century and is one of Prague's earliest Gothic buildings, with buttresses supporting the outside wall. 4. Last, but certainly not least, St. Vitus Cathedral is a classic example of Gothic architecture. It is the largest and most important church in the country. Some of its key features include spires, flying buttresses, and pointed arches. It also has exquisite stained glass windows, and even gargoyles.
So he did not mention St. George's Basilica. All right, so we're going to listen again, and which feature or features does Mark talk about for each place that he mentions?
Prague in the Czech Republic is sometimes known as the City of 100 Spires. Buildings in Prague often feature a range of different construction styles. Some of the best-known examples of Gothic architecture include 1. Old Town Bridge Tower on Charles Bridge, which crosses the Vltava River. The pointed arch gives an indication that it was built in the Gothic style. More of these arches can be seen at the Stone Bell House. 2. The Church of Our Lady before Teen is famous for its towers and Gothic spires, which dominate the Prague skyline and can be seen from all over the city. 3. The Old New Synagogue dates from the late 13th century and is one of Prague's earliest Gothic buildings, with buttresses supporting the outside wall. 4. Last, but certainly not least, St. Vitus Cathedral is a classic example of Gothic architecture. It is the largest and most important church in the country. Some of its key features include spires, flying buttresses, and pointed arches. It also has exquisite stained glass windows, and even gargoyles.
Perfect. All right, so now think of a famous city, a famous building in your city, or a building that you have visited, and write down some notes. What's the building used for? When was it constructed? What's the style of architecture? What features can you see in the building, and what adjectives can you use to describe the building? And then try to write a description of the building in the comments using quantifiers, adjectives, and as you describe what style of architecture the building is. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Please like, subscribe, share. Please interact with the comments so that we can start to build the community, have some discussion, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.